Okay, now it's streaming.
Not quite yet. Okay, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Um, so we're going to start with a little prayer to get us going. Nishimi kugu shabri hu ushinate. Bi ilu imulaya chimiki belovke. Biadash lam shem kozrael kolam. Amen. One of the things that's happening today is fear. The whole world is in fear. So it's time to really ask the question, what's going on? Now, I'm not talking about the media-based fear. Clearly, their game plan is to create fear and hysteria, so people will submit to, things that may not be so good for them, like the vaccinations, which are questionable. And what more than 42% of Americans say they won't take the vaccination, knowing that it could be very bad for your health. I'm not talking about that. I am talking about the fear within people that makes them vulnerable to the outer media matrix kind of energies, okay, to activate fear. So where does this fear come from? How does this work? And the deeper basis of fear is not understanding who we are. When a person understands that their soul is immortal, when a person understands that we're passing through this lifetime and other lifetimes, then we stop having fear. We're not afraid of death because there is no death for the self. This isn't true. And to me, that's the primal thing where people are get on and they're focused. I mean, really, it's not a rational thing. It's equal to be driving a car and have a car accident, equal to amount of people that die from the COVID. Literally, statistically. And maybe it's even less likely of dying from COVID. But people still drive their cars. Life has dangers. You'll walk down the street and there's dangers. So what they're tuning into, very psychologically sophisticated, is somehow activating fear around this unknown. But there's really nothing unknown about it. I mean, viral and this whole thing is very rational. Viral infections have been plagues since forever. The 1917 plague, 1718 plague, viruses, the Hong Kong flu, it just goes on and on. So all of which being somewhat more lethal than COVID-19. So how do they get away with this? And I think what we're looking at is people have lost their even basic awareness of the immortality of our soul. And they have, I'm going to say they rather than we, because many of you who are listening probably are not in fear. So that's, I think, a key understanding of the issue, and aren't in fear of death. A lot of people understand it's part of life. It's part of the life cycle. That being said, I think it would be good to do a short 0 point on the issue of fear. And then we'll get to questions. So close your eyes and feel where in your body you're feeling the fear. Does it have a size, shape, color? Does it have what emotions are associated with the fear? What thoughts? Okay. Where did the primal issue of fear of death come from? What's the root cause? Now feel it fully and let it expand to the outer limit, including any additional sensory, emotional thought or root cause level, conscious or unconscious. And now go back in time and space when you first took this on. Okay. Now go back prior to taking it. Was there a time that you didn't have fear in your life? Fear of death? See if you can find that time. And now move forward into taking on that fear. And go back to the time you didn't have the fear and then move forward. And now feel that fear and let it expand to include all the times in your life where you've played out the fear. Past life and present life. And now when you see it, I don't know how that got there. And when you see it now, just give it a name and step outside. You may name it fear, but give it a name and step outside. Okay. Now we're outside. Make 3 copies of this picture of your fear. And now condense it to 1 and ask yourself the question, what do I get out of carrying this fear around with me? How does it serve me? You may say, well, it doesn't serve me. No, it serves you. There's something you get from it. So ask the question, how does this serve me? Okay, good. And now be clear you're ready to let go of how it served you. And check your family network, your social network, to see if anyone would be upset if you let go of it. And then say to yourself, my psycho-spiritual development is more important than any codependent relationships. Okay, good. Now, be clear you're ready to let go of it. And say to yourself, you're really ready to let go of it. This is an illusory thought from reality that no longer serves me and is not the truth of who I am. Therefore, I choose to let it dissolve and let it completely dissolve. And now when it's dissolved, we've cleared it. So what I'd like to do is open it up for questions. Any questions people may have about this? We have a few minutes for questions, and then we'll do a little dance and go into meditation. So are there any questions out there?
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
Okay, not regarding this, but how can I quickly raise my blood fat in my body? Because my fat level in my body is only 7%. It used to be one time 14% highest, then came down to 10% during COVID time when I started drinking whole lot of green tea. And
Well, so you drank a lot of green tea and you kind of got rid of fat. Well,
7% only.
isn't exactly the topic, but what I can say is healthy carbohydrates convert to fat. So that's
Okay. I am in raw living food diet.
yeah. Well, fruits and vegetables. So I would put more of that in your diet because carbohydrates create fat.
Okay.
Okay, good.
But I'm taking,
Doesn't make you fat, carbohydrates does.
okay, I'm taking in addition to in the morning in empty stomach 1 tablespoon in little warm water divine coconut oil.
That's
Is
fat.
that okay?
So
Yes.
that's fine. I'm not doing a holistic thing here because our question was about the 0 point. That's fine.
Okay.
Carbohydrates give you fat, convert to fat. That's the key take home. Okay?
Okay, 0 point, I have a quick question that I can remember the time when I did not have any fear, but I don't remember any time when I started having fear. In my childhood, at least until high school, I did not have any fear. I will go in the woods and no fear. I'll run everywhere in the nature, and I was enveloped with fear, the joy. But I think it is a social contamination.
Well, yeah, we are affected by the whole thing. And so we have to keep ourselves a little bit separate, but we also have to clear that because the social mind literally hooks into any little bit of fear we may have and amplifies it. So I think your analysis is correct. So we want to get rid of the hook that brings the matrix fear into us. So I think it's a good analysis.
I appreciate so much.
Okay, any other questions?
Go ahead, Doug. You can unmute yourself.
I think I already have. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. First off, on the fear thing, I don't have any fear. So meditations have been doing very good for me. I did want to go back a little bit from last week on green tea because
fear goes away when you know the truth of who you are, which is you're immortal and there's no life or death. That's where fear really disappears. Go ahead.
Good, great. I wanted to just reiterate a little bit on green tea last week. We were talking about, you were talking about some of the compounds that are in green tea and what they can do. And one of them had to do with the mitochondria and the growth of the mitochondria within the cell.
Yes.
And that, yes. And that, how this, improve things, particularly in the environment where we have Alzheimer's and dementia and things like this. But what I wanted to kind of preface that too is in the brain, some of the diseases have to do with clumping or amyloids, where things stick together, like in the lens of an eye, in the case of cataracts, and in the brain, you have amyloids. Okay. How does green tea affect those kind of clumping things, or doesn't it?
I haven't read a lot on it. I know it may help a little bit because it has anti-inflammatory and amyloids are associated with brain inflammation. So it's more indirect rather than direct.
Okay, so it's an association rather than a direct benefit.
Right. Well,
okay, well that's right.
Because it's anti-inflammatory, so it's a benefit. And inflammation activates the amyloid secretion.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all I have.
Any other questions?
Not from the group, but I can ask some that were mailed in.
Sure.
Okay.
We have about 5 minutes more.
Okay. Individual asks, I'm stepping into my Dharma and role as a spiritual teacher, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are on how to do this work amidst so much unrest. I personally stay out of the news and media as much as possible, knowing it's all hysterical and ego-driven, but I'm finding that most people are consumed by COVID, the racial injustices in our country, and environmental disasters, and I often feel /fear, judgment, and disapproval for sharing a message that is positive and does not fall into the hysteria. Of course, I don't ignore what's going on and offer spiritual solutions, but I'm having difficulty with the balance. How do you approach this?
There is a little bit of a problem because the media has activated, all of it's true, right? COVID exists. Well, it may be less than the regular flu. Apparently, some of the statistics says it has less mortality than the regular flu, slightly less. Racism is less in this country than it's ever been. well, now they're amping it because they have a different agenda, which is to create racial divisions. That's the game plan. It's all written down. How do we disrupt the society? Let's get racism, sex, all these things. Okay. People are buying into all those things. Okay. That's the problem. So we have to go one step further and not deal with them directly because people are very charged about them. So I can sit here with this group and say, well, let's get rid of our fear of COVID. It's less than the regular flu. Does racism exist? Yeah, of course. Racism has always existed. If you go, when I was in South Africa, every single tribe was racist against the other tribe, or we'll call it tribalist. 11 different tribes. So we have that. We have other places where literally, there were mass exterminations of other tribal groups. Nothing new here, okay? So those are always human tendencies as people go to lesser and less levels of understanding who they are. So nothing new, but it's being inflamed. So the people who don't have much understanding, it's activating them. Now, but understand, and this is why I'm saying it, it is a strategy to disrupt society. So what do you do with that? Well, I think the key is only really talk to people who can, who obviously get it or can be open to getting it. That's where you have to start, okay? Trying to talk to people who are, really entrenched in their belief systems about what is, not knowing we are the light of God, not knowing, we're all one, and not even close to knowing that. That's not where you start talking. So you have to find an audience who can at least begin to hear the higher wisdom, which is we are all one, we're all one. So we're, all the oneness things. That's where you start. Don't start in where people just, their consciousness just can't handle any level of that truth. And it's unfortunate that that's going on. But the good news is I think more and more people are waking up to say, well, if you take this route of what you see going on out there, what do we get? Well, destruction and death and misery. It's really not a very fun way to be. And just the last few days where, people are starting to kill each other, it's like, well, that's what they want. But then people are saying, oh, but do I really want to go there? And that's where some talking is open as people start to say, well, maybe this isn't so good. Even the CNN people are saying, not that I ever watched CNN, but I just heard, okay? They're saying, oh, maybe rioting and destruction of property, maybe that's not the best strategy. I mean, their reason is because it gets more people to vote for Trump. It doesn't matter. They're beginning to reflect on this separation, this negativity, and kind of energies that are going on. And because they see it not as anything that they could care less about racism, they could care a lot about divisions that are going to create disruption in the society, which is their goal. So even that's changing. So the key is speak to people at the level they can begin to hear, and don't speak to people who are so invested in the egoic issues of racism or whatever the issues are, whatever issue they're going to create. And they'll just keep creating issues as long as there are people gullible enough to kind of want to buy their story. Okay. Any other questions?
I'll read another one from the emails. Does an evolved soul sometimes take on a lifetime of pain and suffering and appearance of bad choices to be a teacher to others, to set up the potential to create healing and change for humanity? That's
the answer is yes, it can be the case for sure.
All right, I've got another one here. Is truth always of utmost importance no matter what? If you know of dishonesty and don't bring forward even though seemingly very distant from the situation, does being part of or aware of dishonesty on any level create a hole in or weaken one's energetic field?
It's a really incredible question. Living in the truth is a huge life commitment. Now, living in the truth doesn't mean you just dump truth on people. You have to obviously talk to them in a way that they can hear it, and also know when they can't hear it. But it doesn't mean you're going to compromise. So part of really spiritual life is living in all levels of the truth. Absolute truth, there's only God. Okay? And the relative truth, we have to be as close as we can authentically to holding that truth. The less we compromise, the better it is for our soul and really for everyone else. If you're speaking in truth, it gives the space for other people to speak in truth. It's a very, very important question. And the answer spiritually is the more we can stay in truth, the better the whole society is. And I'm talking about absolute, but also relative truth. Great question. I think we have time for one more question.
Okay, I've got one more. Individual writes in, a woman 56 years old, says that she's got osteoporosis and her scores keep going higher and the doctor wants to put her on medication or inject an IV. Do you have any advice to give me? I'm hoping to turn to food as medicine to help build up my bones.
So again, this is not a medical consultation. This is questions about the issues we're bringing up. And the answer is yes. There's plenty of things. We have supplements here, Bone Insurer, and there are lots of things that are combinations that work. Calcium is not one of the things that you want to do, but there are other things. So they are available, and we have them on our website, for example. So I'll leave it like that. But yes, nutritional can help. The research shows that anti-gravity exercise is the most powerful way. They did research in women in their 80s with osteoporosis and had them lifting weights and doing things like that. And when after a month, they already began to increase their bone density at 1%. So yes, you can reverse it. Anti-gravity exercise is the best. Okay, good questions. And I don't want to exactly use this time as a medical thing. I want to tell you that we're very close with we're getting enough people, going for 144 people. So you want to go to the treeoflife.mn.co, and we're up in the 90s now. And when we get there, we will have this kind of medical an hour for that each week, something like that. So that's all there, but that's in private because it's really hard to talk about these things over the internet. Okay, so now we're going to do a little dancing here, and I'm going to talk about the how to meditate here. I've been talking nonstop. I'm recording my book, which I'm very excited about, Into the Nothing. And at 8 hours a day for several days, my voice has gotten a little sore. I'm glad I'm taking a break today, but we're still talking, but not nonstop. So it just got a little burnout. So that's what that's about. Now, meditating. How do we meditate? Sit quietly, observe your thoughts, and then start to repeat the mantra to focus your mind. And the mantra is Yod on the in-breath, Hey on the out-breath, Wah on the in-breath, Hey on the out-breath, Yod from the base to the heart, hey out to the heart. Wah from the base to the third eye, and hey out to the heart. And you simply keep repeating it till your mind's quiet. The other, and then you're in meditation. The other is the Shaktipat part. Now we're going to do that after we dance and sing a little bit, because that kind of opens us up to meditation. So, and then it'll come back and we'll do the Shaktipat. Now, the Shaktipat is through the eyes, and I'm sharing with you about that. So when I come and sit, understand that the energy is flowing through me into you, the cosmic energy, to my eyes. I have been directed by my spiritual teacher to give Shaktipat and empowered to do that. So what's happening is part of my soul energy is coming in, energy to awaken the Kundalini is happening, and also there's some burning of karma. So all one has to do is just focus on that for the 30 seconds that I'm doing that, and then we go into meditation. And we usually meditate 15 minutes. So now we're going to dance and celebrate.
Rav, we need to switch the camera over to the other room.
You said to get something.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I just had to get my little clock, and now we will switch over. Here we go. Okay, so here we go.
שלנו ואת כל כך יפה היום בכל רחוב בכל מקום משהו טוב קורה איתה כל ישראל מירושלים אש על הקיריים שתי ביצים על המחבת וריצת 2000 כמה טוב לקום איתך לפתוח את היום וציפורים שרות לך כאן מבעד לחלון תחייכי שוב הדופק עולה זאת השמש שזורחת לא ירח מלא והמוזיקה נכתבת לך ולא להמונים ונצעד איתה ביחד למצעד הפזמונים יו היי בוקר טוב מה המצב נו קומי מאוחר עכשיו ברדיו מתנגן השיר שלנו ואת כל כך יפה היום בכל רחוב בכל מקום משהו טוב קורה איתה בוקר יפה כמעט כמוך יפה שלי מאיפה המלאך הזה נחת על המיטה שלי מת להישאר לכוס קפה עם האישה שלי אבל הבוס צריך אותי מוקדם אוף אני והמזל שלי אני יוצא לעבודה השארתי לך מפתח שם מתחת לשידה אל תדאגי הספקתי להוציא את הכלבה פתחי את המקרר שלי ותמצאי עוגה איתך כל יום זה חגיגה היי בוקר טוב מה המצב נו קומי מאוחר עכשיו ברדיו מתנגן השיר שלנו ואת כל כך יפה היום בכל רחוב בכל מקום משהו טוב קורה איתנו זה כמו חלום לקום איתך כשהשמש מאירה לנו את המיטה ושוב פעם את צוחקת שאני נוחר אותו הצחוק שרק איתו כיף להתעורר אני שיקור ממך אז קמתי אם אין גובר מתארגנים ואז נוסעים לארוחת בוקר מדליקים את הרדיו פול ווליום זה המוטו היי בייבי זה השיר שלנו פה באוטו מודה אני לפניך שחזרת בי נשמתי לקום בבוקר ועדיין לגלות שיש לי אהבה והיא פה איתי מודה אני לפניך שחזרת בי נשמתי לקום בבוקר ועדיין לגלות שיש לי אהבה והיא תמיד איתי בוקר טוב מה המצב נו קומי מאוחר עכשיו ברדיו מתנגן השיר שלנו ואת כל כך יפה היום בכל רחוב בכל מקום משהו טוב קורה איתנו היי בוקר טוב מה המצב נו קומי מאוחר עכשיו ברדיו העיר שלנו והכל כך יפה היום בכל רחוב, בכל מקום משהו טוב קורה איתנו
עוצם עיניים חולם שאת תבואי
Wait a second. There we go. Okay, very good. Now we're going to go into meditation for about 15 minutes. So just focus. Yo. Yo. Okay, so I just want to check in how people are doing. As you're coming out of it, I'll just share a little information that we already have people, our key, we reached our baseline mark for the weekend meditation that we're going to be doing. So I'm very pleased with that. And the fast is partially filled. I know we're a little bit out, but go to treeoflife.mn.co because we're here to serve you, and we have programs. We're really trying to have that happen, but everybody's participation helps. So I'm just going to mention that, so we have our meditations. So this coming Friday, we are going to have a more of a community Shabbat. And that's a key here in terms of the big picture. And the candle lighting's about 6:35 in Patagonia. So we're going to probably have the candle lighting more like 6:30, something like that. So Yosh will get you tuned in to how to do that. Okay, so that's important. But keep showing up, keep communing. This is all good. So is there any sharing anyone has about the meditation?
I don't have any hands here, Rav.
Okay, well, it's after 12, so we'll meet again next week. And we're available this Friday. I guess Yoshua, you'll send out a little bit of a notice, right?
Yes, it's posted in Shakti Space, and I'll also be sending an email.
Perfect. So may that inner peace be with you, and hopefully the world will be moving towards a little bit more outer peace too. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om and Takiwasan. Aho.